Hello, 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 viewers. Welcome back to Count Your Blessings. We are seated here today with one of our community's finest. He is an educator with the Dallas Independent School District. He is a commissioned pastor with the Ghanaian Community Presbyterian Church. He is also a licensed insurance agent, helping families build strong financial foundations and securing their future financially. But one of his passions is helping our youth in the community to gain access or find educational opportunities so they can graduate college in debt free. That's one of his passions as a community leader. I have come to know him for many years as an educator, and he's helped many churches helping our youth, and I've seen a product of the youth that has come into his circle or his influence, and where they have gone ahead in their education. Today we are seated here. I didn't finish my introduction. He's actually also a married man. He's a family man, happily married, and a great husband and a father to 5 beautiful children. We are seated here today with none other but Reverend Martin Osae.
Thank you.
Reverend, you are welcome to Count Your Blessings.
Thank you. I'm very delighted to join you today in the studio at Be Divine Network. I love that name, Be Divine
Be
Network.
divine.
And counting our blessings. I mean, every day there's so much we can be grateful for. So thank you for that introduction.
Thank you. And to mention counting your blessing, he's been a great blessing to the community. So today, Reverend Osae, we want to know your journey.
Yes.
How you came from where, the call of God on your life, and also being an educator with the district here in the Metroplex and helping our youth grow. But we want to know the beginning of it all,
Right.
how it's all come up to now.
Yes, yes. Well, I grew up in a very modest home. My father was a teacher.
Okay,
He was an instructor at the Accra Technical Training Center,
okay, in Ghana.
in Ghana.
Okay.
So he taught auto mechanics. And by virtue that he was a teacher, he instilled the love for education in all of us.
Absolutely.
We grew up going to the Presbyterian church, where I got baptized and confirmed. And later on, when I got out of high school, a friend invited me to the International Central Gospel Church at Baden Powell Memorial Hall,
Okay.
led by Dr. Mensa Otabel. So I visited and fell in love with the church. And the very next day, I found myself in the Sunday school.
Oh, wow.
I just went right away and asked, can I teach at the Sunday school? Prior to that, I was helping Sunday school in the Presbyterian church at New Abosokai, where I was at the time living with my cousin. So I would go to that church and I was helping the Sunday school. Then I was in my sixth form at Accra Academy, so we live at the Bank Flats. But going to International Central Gospel Church began my faith journey.
Okay.
Knowingly gave my life to the Lord on that day, got baptized by the Holy Spirit, and just wanted to serve God and do the things of God. Prior to that, I kind of got involved in children's ministry a little bit. There is an organization at the time in Ghana called Child Evangelism Fellowship.
Okay.
The director then was Anthony Mensah and a few other leaders. So I will follow them to training of Sunday school teachers around the Accra Metroplex and got heavily involved in that. So while I was teaching Sunday school at International Central Gospel Church, I was also involved helping CEF, Child Evangelism Fellowship, going around churches, doing Bible clubs, and then also training Sunday school teachers. So that was my beginning into ministry. But then because I was doing that, I sought the opportunity after my sixth form to travel.
Okay.
That was the time that all young people just wanted
to travel?
But I didn't want to travel just for traveling's sake.
Okay.
I wanted to do something that was in line with my passion and my calling. And at the time, children's ministry is where I felt directed towards. And that is where I found my wife also. We're both Sunday school teachers at the International Central Gospel Church.
Nice.
So the door opened for me to go to Switzerland to do a leadership training course with the Child Evangelism Fellowship. They have a leadership training institute in Switzerland, in Langenbruck, near Basel. So I applied and I got accepted and went there to do a degree equivalent diploma in children's ministry.
Okay.
By the end of the program, I started thinking, Lord, what next? Where am I going from here? My roommate then in Switzerland was David Palmer, who came from London, Leicester, London. And he said, why don't you come to London with me?
Really?
So I left Switzerland and went to London, but not as an economic migrant. I wanted to do ministry. Like everybody was going to London then to work,
Make money.
cleaning, all of that. My focus was, Lord, I've now been trained with children's ministry. I want an opportunity to serve and to use that talent.
Wow.
So I went to Child Evangelism Fellowship in London. The director there was Steve Groom, and we talked, and he said, at the moment, we don't have any opening. But there's another organization called Child Evangelism Ministry. The director is Chiksani Robbie. Go talk to him. Maybe they have an opening. So I went to Surrey Keys where Chik's office was, and we sat down and we talked. And as I spoke to him, tears came in his eyes. He said, you don't know how long we've been praying for somebody.
So you were an answer to a prayer.
And prior to that, I had prayed. I said, Lord, I don't want to just go do anything. I want to be an answered prayer. So when he said, you have no idea how long we've been praying for somebody to come, that was confirmation to me, because my whole prayer when I got to London was, I don't want to just come to London and do what everybody is doing. I want to do something that is in line with my calling into children's ministry. So Chooks, with tears in his eyes, he said, you have no idea. We've been praying. I'm the only one that is full-time for this ministry. We can't promise you a salary. We can't, whatever comes in that people donate to the ministry, I will share with you, but I'll be happy to work with you.
And you took the opportunity.
And I took the opportunity.
So it's not always about money.
It was not about money. It was about making a difference. It was about serving.
Absolutely.
So that was the reason I started working with children's ministry in London. There were months that we had money for, stipend or allowance.
Right.
There were months too that we didn't have enough to cover the rent, let alone all the materials.
But you kept going.
Yeah, but I did that for 3 years.
3 years.
And God blessed our ministry. When I got to London, they had about 6 Bible clubs for children. And before I left, we had about 27 of them.
Wow.
Every other weekend, we were outside in either Scotland, Wales, or somewhere around there.
Just evangelizing
and training Sunday school teachers for the churches, and also helping them start children's club. Awesome. We did parenting conferences. So as I did that for 3 years, I felt that it was time to go and get more education.
Okay.
And because I've been involved in children's ministry, it just was right to get a degree in education.
Okay.
So I decided to go to Oral Roberts University. And that in itself is a whole story by itself. But
so you had left London and came to the U.S.
Came to the U.S.
to
in
Oklahoma.
1995.
Okay.
To Oral Roberts University.
Okay.
And prior to leaving, there were a lot of promises from the churches that we worked with to sponsor my education. So when I got to Oral Roberts University, about a week into being there, when I started reaching out to the pastors who promised to help, the one that was really going to sponsor me, the church had split at the time.
Oh.
And the new leadership, of course, that wasn't part of the agenda.
Yeah.
So here I was in Oral Roberts University with $200 in my pocket. I had no money to pay my $18,000 tuition.
Oh, Lord.
But growing up in my household, my dad always taught us to believe in God. One of his phrases was always, God will provide. In fact, he will even say it in the Hausa, Allah Yakau. God will provide. And I have seen God provide for our family. As a teacher, globally, teachers don't get paid that much.
That's right.
But we lived in modest means. We lived in Roman Ridge. We lived in a government bungalow. We had a good life, but we didn't have more than enough. We had just enough to get by, So that faith earlier on growing up resurfaced in Oral Roberts. I said, God, I know you will provide because my dad always said you will provide. And
Oh,
anytime he believed you, you provided. So show me how I'm going to get through school here at Oral Roberts University.
wow.
So I went to the financial aid office. I talked to them. I got de-enrolled actually the second week because I haven't paid, so I couldn't go to the cafeteria to eat. And a friend from Kenya, Anthony Kia, met me on the campus and said, "Come stay with me." So I moved into his apartment and stayed with him. I didn't have very much money by the 200, so I went across to the Walmart from the school and bought a 3-liter Coke bottle, and I bought a bag of animal crackers. So I still love animal crackers today because it saved my life. So for about
Humble,
for
humble
about for about 2
beginnings.
weeks, I lived on that Coke and the animal crackers.
Really?
And I ate to live, not live to eat. So and when it was getting low, I mixed it with water. Those were some of my beginnings. But as I kept knocking at the doors of financial aid and asking for help, finally they offered me to work in the school cafeteria.
Okay.
Best place to work
Oh,
because
you
now
get food.
food
Of
is
course.
not my problem, right? So I worked the first night I worked there. My job was to mop the floor. So at the end of the shift, I was the last person to finish and mop the floor and left. And the next morning, I was called in the office and I thought I had done something wrong. So Ben Chrysostom, who was the student manager or the director of students workers, said, "I understand you mopped the floor last night." And I said, "Yes." He said, "I've been in this cafeteria many years. I've never seen that floor look so good."
Oh my goodness.
So, would you consider being the lead student worker
Are you serious?
and do all the scheduling and everything of the other students? And I said, I'll be happy to do that.
So,
But
Mama,
God knew what He was doing. Go ahead.
I didn't want to interrupt
Yeah.
you, but when I'm listening to people talk, I try to grab
Yeah.
nuggets
Yeah.
out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in this short period, I'm like gleaning like
Yeah.
a whole lot. And I'm hearing what we say to our kids as parents, that whatever we speak to them, they may not be reacting to it
Yeah.
now, but it follows them. So if
Yeah.
it is good seed we sowing into them
Yeah.
or bad seed. But more importantly is being who you are in spite of your
Yeah.
circumstances.
Yeah.
Like mopping the floor.
Yeah.
Who would have thought mopping the floor would open a door?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So, to our viewers, please glean as much as you can, and I will share mine along the way. But whatever you find yourself doing, as the Bible says, do it as unto the Lord.
Yeah.
If it is mopping the floor or even cleaning the toilet, be the best at whatever you do, and there's no limit to where God
Yeah.
can take you.
Amen. Amen.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so the very next day, I became the student lead manager.
Just like that.
And the beautiful thing about that is, when you are an international student, you are only allowed to work
So many
at certain
hours.
hours, like 20
Yeah,
hours a week.
right.
But being the student lead, I have to be there for the whole shift to close,
So,
make sure that I assign all the duties for cleaning and everything is done. So by default, I got the hours I needed to be able to put my tuition on monthly payments and pay my way through Oral Roberts University. For the 6 years that I was there, God
wow.
made provision. I did not take one college loan the whole time and graduated debt free. Some of my colleagues I know are still paying college debts. I didn't have to pay
Wow.
one college debt
The faithfulness
because
of God.
God saw me through.
And it's not just the faithfulness of God. Some people want to profess, oh, God is faithful, but we're not playing our part.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
God is faithful, but you want to sit at home and just watch everything
right,
just unfold.
right.
But you took a leap of faith. I mean, you just grasp on every opportunity with the heart not after money,
Right,
but after service
right,
unto
right.
God.
And serving people has always been my passion. Even at Oral Roberts University, when I started looking for a church to attend, I went to a United Methodist church. And Ben, who was my boss at the cafeteria, invited me. And immediately I got there, I felt it was a good place. The very next thing I saw was I was involved in their children's ministry.
So that's a
I started a
passion.
puppet ministry there.
Wow.
And on weekends, I would take the kids and we'll go out to the nursing homes and do puppet shows for the senior citizens.
Wow.
So again, that service has run through, whatever I do. Even in at Oral Roberts University, my apartment, when I was able to get my own apartment, became the place for all the international students to come. Because I will cook for them. Thank God for mom making me cook when I was young.
Wow.
So I love to cook. Cooking is my passion. Then, of course, I'm working in the cafeteria also. So I'm learning how to do all these pasta casseroles and different things. So I will cook and my friends will come home and eat. Sometimes during Thanksgiving and Christmas when all the campus is empty,
Right.
they come to my place, I
Oh,
cook and we all. So again, serving people
that's right.
has always been
That's right.
my passion. Of course, when I graduated my first degree, I started teaching in Tulsa Public Schools
Okay.
and taught fifth grade there for about 4 years. And then by which time I also finished my master's and then relocated 2003 to the Dallas area
Okay.
and started working with Dallas Independent School District since 2003. I worked at one of the schools on Fort Worth Avenue, Stevens Park for 4 years. And then at the time, because my passion was science education, my principal got to know how passionate I was about science and particularly doing hands-on explorations in science. So she would put me in the lab once every 6 weeks to train all the teachers, all the experiments they'll be doing with their kids, and then they will go and do it. So once every 6 weeks, I train the staff. And our science course went high. So the science department at Dallas Independent School District took notice. And the director called me one summer and said, how would you like to come work for me? So like that, I moved into central office and started working as a science instructional specialist and providing training for science teachers across the district and started coaching teachers on campuses and did that for many, many years. Just the last 3 years, I left central office and went back to a campus, to the classroom. But some of my most joyful moments has been training science
Training.
teachers, bringing them in, letting them do all the experiments, and then they go back and replicate that. And I've visited them and follow up with that. Of course, this has been my secular journey,
Okay.
but then also throughout my Christian walk has been strong from the United Methodist Church there doing puppet ministry. Then when I relocated here, a friend of mine, Richard Barno, I don't know if you all know.
Yes, sir.
Richard Barno
Yeah.
had Fountain of Life International Church, so I served him there for a few years, and then of course we were commuting from South Dallas to Plano. So it got to a point where we decided, my wife and I, let's
quite a
find
drive.
a church
Yeah.
somewhere, which was mutual. I mean, I still have great relationships with Rosinda and Richard. I've known them from Ghana before
Lovely
even
people.
coming here.
Yeah, lovely
So we
couple.
still, but then we found a church, Assemblies of God Church, Pastor Simon Adum.
Okay.
So I went there, DeSoto, and there again served. In all of this, also I had a chance to be the president of the ABA Association of Dallas for 4 years, 2 years, and then re-elected again for 2 years. During which time I brought some kind of structure to the group. It used to be that they gather, they eat, they go home. But I was like, what can we do to make a difference?
There you go.
So during that time, Mr. Kalanku, who was the president before me, we crafted a scholarship.
Another favorite.
Yes.
Favorite grandpa of
Yeah, so we
mine.
crafted a scholarship program where every child of the ABA Association who graduates high school and goes on to college at our Christmas party when they come back home that first semester, we gave them a check of $250.
Oh, awesome.
To,
That's encouraging.
supplement. Yeah, and then I think the last one we did, we gave about 12 checks. So again, that community spirit was birthed.
Okay.
Where through the leadership of the ABA Association, I was heavily involved in the community. I would go to different events and different functions to represent the group. So that service has stayed with me.
Right.
And during those moments, also there was a group that were thinking about starting a Presbyterian church. People like Mr. Enoch Azu,
Okay.
Auntie Grace Bedu, and a few others. They approached me and said, "We are thinking about starting a Presbyterian church. Would you consider coming to lead?" of course, bear in mind my background has been very charismatic, you
Right.
know, Central Gospel Church, Oral Roberts University. So for me, coming to lead the Presbyterian Church, after praying about it, I felt it was
Okay.
God's design to bring me back from the Pentecostal charismatic into the Orthodox and to bring life
Okay.
there. So
That was going to be my question. Like,
yeah.
how were you able to transition,
Yeah,
or how are you kind of merging
right.
the two,
Yeah,
if
because the
possible?
gospel is the gospel, it never changes
That's
wherever you
right.
go.
That's right.
The spirit is the spirit, and allowing the spirit to move in a church is an important thing. So I brought that with me to help start the Ghanaian Community Presbyterian Church. Now we are 7 years going on to 8 years, and we have seen tremendous growth. Our services, when you walk in our service, you don't feel you feel like you are in a place that is joyful.
Good.
You are in a joyful environment. And even, you know, some staff members from the presbytery who have come to worship with us promoted that. They go back to the office and they say, if you are losing your joy, go to the Ghanaian Community Presbyterian Church. Because we have
Nice.
very carefully and by the guidance of the Holy Spirit blended the sacred and the contemporary,
Okay.
so that you can come to us and hear the hymns that you love from your Presbyterian roots and tradition, but you can also enjoy a praise and worship, dance and clap,
There you
and
go.
you know. So we've been able to merge the two in a beautiful way, in that people come and whatever their inclination is, they come and they find something here.
Okay.
And some of the things I've heard about the church too is that there's that fellowship, that community spirit,
And that's
you
the
know.
way
Yeah,
church should
so yeah, exactly. You know, so people, I mean, after church, people will still stand around and just because of the fellowship, they've seen each other and being in each other's presence. So that has been my journey. Of course, when I talk about family, I alluded to the fact that I met my wife.
Yes, I was waiting to come in, but I want all
Yes,
this.
and our meeting was very interesting. We were both teaching in Sunday school, and at the time I didn't even know she was going to be my wife. You know, so I was
Very lovely
I was
lady, by the
matchmaking her
way.
with other people. You know, I'll see a brother say, you know, Betty, this will be a good brother for you. You know, and one day we were talking, and she said something that she said, you know, God has done so much for me. If he gives me a male child, I'm going to name him Emeka. And you know, Betty's background, mom and dad are Nigerian.
Okay.
The mom is Nigerian 100%. The dad is half Osu and half Nigerian.
Okay.
So
Okay.
traditionally, in the African setting, is the man or the father that names a child. So I just said out of, you know, just a word I said, you know what? If your husband loves you, he will let you name your son.
Oh.
You know, and fast forward, you know, God brought us together. In fact, I proposed to her on New Year's Eve at camp meeting, a trade fair when we were in
Oh,
Ghana,
trade
building Power
fair, huh?
Memorial.
All
Yeah, so we have our
right.
camp meetings at trade fair. So that's where I proposed to her, and I said, would you want to be my wife for, you know,
Oh,
the rest of this journey?
beautiful.
And we were doing, I proposed to her on the night that we were with the kids, and they were watching a movie on the 31st night. Right on midnight is when I proposed. And she said yes.
She
You
said
know,
yes.
so God has blessed us so much. We went through some challenges. When I came here, it took 5 years for her to get her visa to join
To
me.
join 5
So yes,
years.
so when I was at Oral Roberts University, she was not there most of that time, and I only went home once when I was there. But we joke now and we say, you know, the devil stole 5 years from us, but God blessed us with 5 children. So for
Awesome.
every one child that every
It's
one
the
of our
year
children,
that.
it's a black eye that the Lord gave the devil, you know, for
All
keeping us
right.
apart.
Man of God,
But
that's
God has
beautiful.
been wonderful.
Thank
Great.
you. That is wonderful. Before we continue, I want us to take a quick commercial break.
Okay.
Viewers, I don't know if you're excited as I am, gleaning a lot. What an interesting. It's because Reverend Osae is a man of, he is multifaceted person. I mean, just listening to where he's come from, but we want to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. But don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Leslie's Catering and African Market goal is to make sure that our African brothers and sisters get the food that they want at an affordable price. You are sure that you are buying healthy food, original African dishes. Come try it, and I guarantee you will keep coming because the food is so good. We are here for you. Come in, come on, your one-stop African shop for African groceries and African dishes.
Blessed African Market is open Monday through Sunday. We open Monday to Saturday 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday after church 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Come in and you will enjoy yourself and you will be blessed.
Viewers, thank you for tuning back in. We'll continue our conversation with Reverend Osae. As I mentioned earlier, he's a multifaceted person, and we are getting to know his journey so far. It's been wonderful, and I cannot wait to see what the rest of the conversation and how it takes a turn from this point. So welcome back. Reverend Osae,
Yes.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
That is okay.
I love family, so you talking about your wife is such a beautiful thing. And it's awesome to still see the light in your eyes. I wish Mommy Betty is here to see that and the love and the joy of talking about her, the proposal and everything. But we want to know how it all played out from there.
Well, God has definitely been good to us. Like I said, we struggled. When we got married, in fact, I was in London then doing the children's ministry.
Okay.
So I went back to Ghana and we got married. And she joined me about a couple months later in London. And we were there for, maybe about a year. And then I started thinking about moving to the United States.
Okay.
Now, at the time, too, that is when they had changed the visa regulations where you have to go back to your home country to get a visa to go to wherever you're going. So I had to leave her in London. She was working with Charles Hills at the time, which is Harrods. They did the silk ties for them because they're sewing, So she was working where they made silk ties for for Harrods, and the company was Charles Hills. And I had to leave her and go to Ghana, get my visa to go to school. Now, we could have both gone, but I said, I'm moving into an uncertain situation. So I don't think it would be wise for both of us to go to Oklahoma. So why don't you stay in London, and once I get there,
settle
down there, you can join me. So of course I got there, through my challenges, and finally got settled in school, and everything was going on well. I had her leave London, leave a nice job that she was doing and making some good money, to go and get her visa to come and join me. And that embassy, it was like,
wow.
They said no every turn of the way.
Wow.
I approached senators here. Senator James Inhofe sent letters on my behalf, who is a Oklahoma senator.
Right.
Sent letters on my behalf, others, and none of it worked.
Wow.
So it got to a point where I didn't even know how to pray about it anymore. It was my burden, like, Lord, I need my wife here.
That's right.
So I didn't know how to pray anymore. All I would say to God is, God, I don't know how this is going to work out, but So it was challenging for both of us, because clearly we loved each other and we wanted to be together.
Right.
But so I think my most expense in college probably was phone calls. Calling her.
There was no free calls then.
No, there was no
WhatsApp.
free calls then, no WhatsApp. So yeah, I think I paid a pretty penny in phone bills, reaching out and checking on her often. But when the time came, the embassy apologized that they are sorry to have kept her.
Are you serious?
Yes. The day she got a visa, the consular said, I don't know why we have kept you away from your husband this long. I don't know how that happened. We are so sorry.
Really?
We apologize. She got her visa and joined me.
So, man of God, I know sometimes people say, oh, you people over spiritualize things too much. Like, what else, in your opinion, would you attribute to that?
Yeah.
Like 5 years, and they're now coming back to say, oh,
Yeah.
by the way,
Yeah.
without any reasonable explanation.
And sometimes, I have come to believe that God does not make mistakes.
That's right.
So that 5 years, and I'll tell you this story. If I remember, before I proposed to Betty, I was interested in another young lady in the church, and that relationship never quite. You know how you're in a relationship and you think you're giving 100%, but the other person is not giving 100%.
Like you're
And the
forcing
other
it.
person makes you feel like you should be privileged to have me.
To be with me.
So I got to a point, I'm like, no, that's not what I want for my future. I want a mutual
That's right.
love and respect
Equally
for each
beneficial.
other. And so, of course, at the time, Betty was just a friend to me. So I shared my challenge. I said, this was going on between me and this other lady. And then she said, I'll pray for you. But she said, right there when she said she will pray for me, something inside her said, even if it's, because I had said, if that doesn't work, I'm not going to, probably I'll stay 5 years before I think about.
Are you
So
serious?
I used 5 years before I think about marrying. And then she said in her head, something dropped in her spirit, say, even if it's 5 years, I will wait for him. Now, she still doesn't know where that voice came from and how she thought that. So she dismissed it right away. But when we look back now, God knew what he was doing during those 5 years. Maybe even yet to reveal to us what happened during the 5 years, because I was formed during those years at Oral Roberts University.
Right.
I was in my formation stages. If she had joined me then, would I have been able to finish the program?
Probably not.
And if we started having children right away, would I have been able to fulfill my purpose at Oral Roberts University? Maybe not. So when we are in the middle of challenges of our lives and we don't even know, we should just acknowledge God in the midst of it.
That's it.
Because he knows.
That's it.
And when she finally joined me, even the doctors, she wasn't getting pregnant. She went to the hospital, they did all the tests, and they said, well, we are looking at your platelets, and it looks like you are borderline, lupus. That they feel you have a blood disorder. And it may be lupus, but we can't clearly say it is lupus. So why don't you go on these iron tablets and whatever, and let your husband also come so we can, see if maybe you are not getting pregnant because it's his fault.
Right.
So she had an appointment, and when she went to that appointment, they found out she was pregnant. So I didn't even have to go do my test.
Wow.
And then she got pregnant with Emeka.
So you did name your son Emeka?
Yes. So
what
when
does
Emeka was
mean?
born, Emeka means God has dealt excellently with me.
Ooh,
so
prophetic.
Chukwu Emeka, God has dealt excellently with me. So then when Betty said she would name her first son Emeka, it was because God has done so much for her. So today Emeka understands the meaning of his name and he walks it.
Awesome.
That's beautiful. But then, Emeka came 2001, and then thereafter, just the floodgates opened. And Esinam came after that, then Enyonam. In fact, when Enyonam, we found out that we were going to have Enyonam, the reason we named her Enyonam was me responding immediately. Betty told me we were pregnant again, that this is enough, Enyonam.
Oh, my goodness.
This is enough. Like God, in your name, I'm satisfied enough. Right?
But he always has a plan.
Exactly. Then Aram came. So I was like, okay, God, I'm blessed.
Wow.
Aram means God has blessed me. And then Elikem came, and we named him. And all of them, their names were symbolic.
Right.
We named him Elikem because God has established me. And in the Psalms, it talks about the quiver of the warrior.
That's right.
And usually the quiver has 5 arrows.
Blessed is the man who has his quiver full of them.
So the 5 arrows and then 5 children, it's very prophetic. But,
man of God, I'm working in that prophetic move with you.
Yes,
I remember when I first met my husband, the cameraman, hello. I told him I want 4 kids. And he's like, I only want 2.
Yeah.
So I remember that was part of, you know what? I want 4, you want 2.
Yeah.
Make that, we either negotiate right now
Yeah.
or let everybody just go their separate ways because we
Right.
don't want kids to be
Right.
a problem.
Yeah.
And then before we know, we have 4, and now we have 5.
Yeah.
And I call them a 5-fold ministry.
Yep. It's interesting you say that because I told Betty I want 2 kids. 1 boy, 1 girl. Good, balanced.
How
But now God
funny.
has given us, 5. And there was a time Betty asked me, so which of them will you give away?
None.
I said, no, I will not give any of them
None.
away. They are
None.
all my blessings. So
None.
even with raising our children and educating them, we have seen God's provision.
Yes.
Being an educator, I'm very particular in which schools the children go to. Believe it or not, all my kids came through one elementary school.
Okay.
All of them from America. We took him somewhere we were not happy with it, and we brought him to this school, and all of them have the same pre-K teacher.
Really?
We take them to one elementary school, then we move them to middle schools
So the
that fit
foundation,
their
right?
calling and
Right.
their expertise or whatever they were passionate about. Isinam always wanted to, right from early, she said she wanted to be a medical doctor, so we took her to science, an environmental science academy.
Okay.
Enyonam went through the same place.
Okay.
Aram, he went to Ignite because he wanted to go into technology, and that was a school that is known
So
for
you
that.
have all STEM kids.
Yes, yeah. All of them
Anyone
went
with your
through-
passion?
All of them went through STEM. Well, I mean, STEM is my passion too.
Right?
And
But
they
no,
are
you're
all rooted in faith.
Okay.
So that is how they've all come through. Isinam went to Lassiter and then just graduated with her associate degree and also
Right.
with
High school diploma. Okay.
And I told them growing up, I said, you need to be smart so somebody will pay for college.
There you go.
And there are scholarships and grants out there. There are a lot of ways that you can go to school debt-free. And so far, I have not only preached that, I have lived it with my 2 kids that are now. Isinam, when we went to the financial aid office, she was the one telling the financial aid officer, this is the scholarship I qualify for in that one. She
So
was the one
she
now telling
knows.
the guy, this is what I have qualified for.
Wow.
And the guy had to say, well, let me check with my boss first.
Are you
So
serious?
now she is going to UT in the fall with near full scholarship. Emeka went to LSU, and initially we had to come up with some money. But during that year, he got recruited into the Army National Guard.
Okay.
And now the Army National Guard pays his tuition.
Okay.
The last 2 semesters, he did not pay a dime. He paid like $1,040. But beginning August, he will not pay anything.
You will not pay anything. Now
and
this
he's
is
committed to-
what
And that's a
man of God.
pathway,
Yeah. And I'm sorry to cut you off. This is one of the things I really also want to really highlight in our sitting today.
Yeah.
Because I realize most of our kids, or even I'll blame the parents for it, because we are not very knowledgeable in the pathway.
Yes.
We kind of let the kids go.
Yeah.
And I call it a myth. And if you can help me debunk it, that it's all strictly academics.
Yeah.
If you can score this yay on your SAT or your ACT scores, then you cannot do this, you
Right.
cannot do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But there are so many ways. Like my kids, they are very academic in athletics.
Yeah.
But I push them in both ways wherever you qualify. But don't think, oh, I'm just going to play sports so I get scholarship.
Yeah.
Or I'm just going to be a bookworm and not have any social skills so I can get scholarship.
Yeah, so I think that is very important for parents to know, and for our viewers, where you take your children and which schools you take them to is important.
Okay.
Know a little bit about that school. Know what the school is good at. Especially in the middle school, ages, high school. Some schools are magnet schools, and they are good for setting career pathways,
Okay.
right? So let them go to schools that align with their passion. And as an African parent, I've tried to pinpoint the passion of every one of my children and steer them that direction.
So we have to learn to figure out what the
What their
passion is,
passion is.
not as imputing.
No.
Like most of us growing home,
Yeah.
you have to be a doctor, you have to be an engineer, you have to be a doctor, without really finding out what the passion of the kid is and nurturing that pathway.
Exactly. Because what has that mindset done for us? We have kids who have graduated med school and they hate it.
Right.
We have kids
Right.
who have become lawyers and they hate it because
Right.
we push them into these careers
Right.
and that is not what they are passionate about. You know, Emeka wanted to do acting and he went to an acting school.
Okay.
A high school, the Booker T. Washington High School
Okay.
for the visual and performing arts.
Right.
When that boy is on stage, he's totally a different person. He's soft-spoken, but when he's on stage, you almost have to turn around and look and be sure, is that Emeka on that stage talking like that? You know, so that's his passion.
Right.
But at the same time, I said your academics is important.
Right. Right.
The acting industry is not that easy to get into,
Right.
but you also have to back it with your academics.
That's
you know,
it.
so even going to LSU, majoring in acting, he came back later and said, "Dad, I want to actually make the acting my minor." And make sports administration my major because I'm also very passionate about sports and I'm keeping the statistics of different teams and all that, and I think I can make a career out of that.
Awesome.
So I gave him my blessing to do that.
That's right.
When he called me and said he's been recruited by the Army National Guard, of course, I didn't know too much about it. So I said, son, let me talk to some people in the community and see if that's something, you know, he should pursue. And I talked to, you know, Mr. Clue and others who have been through it, and everybody gave their blessing and said,
that's right.
If he wants to do it, let him do it. Now, because of that, you know, opportunity, you know, his tuition is covered.
That's right.
Everything is covered. Even my understanding is that even his spouse to be one day and his children would benefit.
That's correct.
Making that decision.
Education
you know,
wise,
So, and then Enyon Esenam wants to go her route and we are guiding her through that.
Okay.
Now she decided she wants to go do nurse practitioner first and then later on do some research and be able to publish and move on into med school if that's what God wants for her.
All right.
So Enyonam, she's the musician. She sings, she plays the guitar, and we put her in a Booker T. Washington High School for visual and performing arts. So she's in the music conservatory. We just signed up a BMI number for her where she's going to be working with a producer to produce her songs and get royalties of her songs.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
You know, so again, her passion, but then I'm also very...
the educational aspect, the intellectual.
Like she struggled a little bit with algebra this year. And I said, you know, we need to get that together.
Right.
You know, so this summer she's actually doing algebra modules.
Okay.
You know, and even just this morning, I say, how is it coming along? And she's aced every module she's done so far.
Awesome.
So we don't want to neglect their passion, but at the same time, the passion, when their passion marries with the academics, they will go a very long way. Then they will graduate doing what they love. You know, nobody, I mean, Esenam, I don't have to tell her, she knows what she wants and she's going for it. So our job is to just guide them and steer them in the direction of their passion. Then when they get there, and even like Emeka just deciding to flip it around and do, you know, sports administration and acting, the passion is still there. If he is doing sports administration and he gets a role, he will still step into that arena. So being aware of their passion, number one, and being involved with them is very important. Know what they are doing, know what they are, you know, what they want to do, and help them in that area. Going to those parent conferences is very important. Talking to those teachers is very important. In fact, at one point, I had it set up to where if any grade falls below a 70, I get an alert. Notification.
Yeah.
You know, and let's talk about this readings class or, you know, math class or what's going on and bring them back on track, you know. So that is our job as parents, to guide them. Not to impose on them.
Right, but to guide.
But to guide them in the direction. Say, train up the child in the way he should go. When he is old, he will not depart from it. You know,
so now as both an instructor, a mentor, a teacher, a coach, and also a pastor, in this day and age, I hate to say that our kids are much softer. Now, we were brought up iron-fisted, you know, not just the whipping and everything, but it was like the strong military arm that was always guiding and shaping, and you're going to do this way. Now, for parents, those of us that are here, that have children here,
Yeah.
that we try to treat them like we were treated 20, 30, 40 years ago back in Ghana or from our individual countries. How do we steer the kids? Or I don't know if I have the right way to say it, to the way where you want not totally neglecting decision making to the kid to do whatever they want, and also feeling like you want to be their friend, and still have that open communication to where you can interact, because that's what I'm hearing you are doing with your children. So I want you to share with our viewers, like for the parents that are struggling, to where you don't feel like you're pushing your kids away so they can't talk to you, or you are so laid back that they are making decisions themselves and you are totally not involved in that decision making.
I think conversation with your children is very important.
Okay.
I mean, drive times are some of my prime times with my kids.
All right.
When we are out driving or we are on vacation and we are on the road, we are in the same, we have to be in the car together,
The same
right?
space.
So, I take advantage of, and I'm a parent too that is always looking for things to do with my family and my kids.
Okay.
Every year, every summer, I make sure we go somewhere and do something together.
Right.
Spring break, we go out and do something together, So I guess being involved, let's not get too busy
All right.
for our children.
There you go.
Sometimes we work, we don't make time. For the longest time, it was the tradition in our home that Friday nights was movie nights.
Okay.
And I will project the movie on the wall and we'll all have popcorn and we'll have fun. We haven't done it lately because now it's like they all have their different interests. But still, it's something we cherish and we do every now and then.
Family time.
Traveling together, or talking with them. Talk to them individually. If you have more than one child, get to know that child and create avenues where you can be alone with that child and just have conversation.
Sounds good.
Enyonam is in a master's program this summer, so I drop her and I pick her up. And those drives have been conversation times.
Okay.
That's when she told me about the music producer and all of that, and we set up the BMI number for her so she can start getting paid for her music. So knowing them and respecting their views.
Right.
Back home, you don't talk till I talk.
Hey, you keep quiet. Adults are talking.
We live in a different world. They live in a world that you have to speak your mind.
That's right.
And we really don't want to raise children who can't speak their minds, right? We want them to be able to stand up for themselves when they're out in the world. So we need to acknowledge that parenting has changed. Parenting has to be more of a collaboration now, where you are collaborating with the child. What is it that you need from me?
Right.
How can I help you? This is what I need you to do.
Right.
Okay, we should also not neglect the chores and the things they have to do.
Correct.
Teach them responsibility. You expect me to do this for you. I expect you to do this also. So it's win-win. The dishes shouldn't still be in the sink, and you are on your.
That's the band of the band of my ancestors.
And hey, if it means I pick up that phone, I will take that phone away for a few days.
There you go.
And get you back.
There you go.
To real world.
Awesome.
So just be involved. Listen to them. Listen. Give them opportunities to speak. If you are a family that still sits around the table to have dinner, those are some wonderful moments to have conversation. Great. Something that I learned, which I did for a long time, was highs and lows. So when I pick them up or we come home in the evening, we're having dinner. So what was your high today and what was your low?
Okay.
What thing happened that was exciting? What thing happened that was not quite exciting?
Okay.
So give me one high and one low, or give me two highs and two lows.
Okay.
And by asking those kinds of questions, if something went wrong at school, or somebody bullied, or got bullied, or those kinds of things, So just creating the opportunity to talk is very important. If it means, set up aside a time, to say, let's have a family meeting.
Okay.
That's also, I've used that also a lot, and it works. When things are not going right in the household, we can have a family meeting.
Time out.
And then let's talk.
That's right.
Let's reassign these chores.
Right.
Let's know who is doing what. So just look for opportunities, and it helps to address issues in a less stressful environment.
That's correct.
When there's something going on that needs to be addressed and can be a thorny situation, let's go for dinner. Let's go out and eat.
Have ice cream.
Yes, and then while we are there, now let's talk about this issue.
Yeah.
You are in an environment where they are happy, they are willing to talk, and sometimes listen to them. I mean, my kids have come to me and said sometimes I'm too hard on them and this and that. They will say that.
That's every parent.
Down the line, they will see
They
that I
appreciate
had
it.
to.
Yes.
I mean, Emeka has said it, Asenam said it just this Sunday when we had a party that, sometimes she thinks we're asking her to do too much, but we loved her and that has helped her to be where she is. So we should also not withdraw,
Right.
but let's be engaged. The key word really is engage. Be engaged with the children.
Right.
Have conversations with them, get to know what's going on. If it needs a one-on-one, go take a walk with them and address an issue, do that. It's not just the mother, it's both father and mother doing it together.
Right.
There are things that come up and I'll say, Betty, I want you to address this with Esinam or Enyana, And
It's a mommy time, mommy problem.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And there are things that will happen that I have to take care of. So we need to know which of the situations that both of us have to address or one of the two of us have to address.
I am the academic mom.
Yeah.
I'm the one who goes to talk to the teachers and say, hey, my kid is not doing that. We're not doing this.
Right.
Or you're being too soft on them. Please crank it up.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I had teachers who will usually call me and say, we know you're not aware of this, so we're bringing it to your attention.
Right.
And they will, I had one teacher during COVID that will frequent our home to check on Jayden.
Okay.
And she's like, he's a good boy, he's very academic, and I want to make sure. So when he started slacking off because it's COVID, she quickly nailed it. Nope.
Yeah.
So she got us involved and said, well, I just want you to know. And so we had to quickly adjust the situation, like you said. And some of the things I've also done with the kids, I remember, for me, I'm a yeller. I'm still working on it. Lord help me. Because sometimes it feels like when you talk very softly and you try to reason, it doesn't work. It takes, pump the fist a little bit and say, come on, guys, let's go. But I can feel that it takes a toll on them. Because sometimes I can feel it changes the atmosphere. Now it's like we're doing it because you said we should do it, but not because we really want to do it. So I've asked them, like individually, how do you feel when mommy yells? And they've been honest to say, well, we don't really like it. Do you feel less loved because I was angry? They like, no. And my son, one time, he told me, I was like, I don't know any parent who doesn't want their child to do better. And I know you do, or you are so hard on us because you want us to be better. You want us to be great. And I think sometimes as parents, we cannot give up on our kids.
That's true.
Some people give up on their kids without knowing. The intent is not to, but when you neglect them, or you feel like, oh, you make your own decisions, I don't want to be bothered with this. Or sometimes I've heard parents say, oh, no matter what I say, they're going to do whatever they want to do anyway. So you don't, like you said, participate and collaborate with them, and we're not communicating with them, and it's always the do this, do that. And over the weekend, I heard one of my friends, she has twins. She said one of the twins told her, Mom, I hate it when adults feel like kids don't have problems. And we all said, problems? You don't pay bills, you don't da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But the peer pressures that they have to go through, working their way through, finding out who they really are. I know for most of the kids, it doesn't come that easy. And it looks like you've done wonderful with your kids so far. It's awesome to hear. But for the kids that are struggling, intellectually and even socially, knowing that you've been in the childhood education, what are some of the resources out there that parents can utilize to help the kids? Of course, we want them to be academic and also be able to socialize and not just glued to their phone all the time.
One of the things that I have done is to ensure that even in the summer months, they are involved in something that is less academic.
Okay.
Even in the school year, there are other things they can do, such as extracurricular activities.
Right.
You know, I know mine, some have done glee club, some have done debates and different things. It takes them outside of the academia into another arena.
Okay.
So in the summer, you know, if there are, you know, things going on, like Eli Kem now is loving basketball. So I said, okay, let's find you a camp. So we signed him up for one of the Mavericks camps that he's going to go to for the summer.
Nice.
You know, something outside academics, but, you know, kind of something he loves.
Right.
Right. So looking at, you know, what can they do? ARAM is in a leadership program that he does in the summer. Next week, they are going to Washington, D.C. for a whole week. And he got a scholarship to cover that for $3,500 to go to
Nice.
D.C. with a group of 15 of them are going. So just finding avenues. Some will be in the school setting. Some may be outside of the school setting or just programs around.
Okay.
And usually when summer is coming around, I'm looking for what all is going on that they can do, you know, and get them into those kinds of things too.
Awesome.
That's very important.
Great.
Yeah.
This is a great place to take a break. Viewers, we're going to take another quick commercial break. We'll be right back. All right, viewers, welcome back to Count Your Blessings. We've been talking to Reverend Martin Osae. So far, we've been talking about his humble beginnings, his passion, and everything else that has really built him to be the man he is today. But one aspect we haven't touched on is that he is a community leader and an advocate. So we'll continue our conversation and to know his involvement in the community in the DFW Metroplex and see what all he's been involved in and how he's been helping grow and shape the community. Reverend Osae, we are back again.
Thank you so much. I have a large heart for the community. Community means a lot to me. There were 10 of us that my mother had.
10.
My mother had 3 children before marrying my father, and then with my father, they had 7 of us. Wow. So we grew up
in a community.
As a community, you know. I still remember the days that we would go to visit maybe my mom's hometown, and then all our cousins and all of us, they will make the food and we all sit around and eat from the same, you know, pots, right? So community is something that to me I cherish. Having people around you.
That's right.
I've often said over and over that wealth is not money.
No.
Wealth is people.
Relationship.
It's the relationships you have. When you have a situation, you can pick up the phone and call, and somebody will be ready to help you.
There you go.
That is wealth.
That's right.
Know? And having grown up in that setting, I always gravitate towards my community. Where is my community and where I am? I don't want to just sit on the fence. I want to be involved in the community, you know. So with the Dallas area, when I became the president of the area association, I would go to different events. Okay. Like, you know, Asante Man is doing something, I go. By virtue of being the leader of another group, I always want to go out and support other groups when they are doing something. You know,
what about the Gadangme?
Yeah, I've been to the Homoa Festival.
There you go. Because you only mentioned that.
I was glad to see that they're going to have Homoa again.
That's right.
In August 12th. So I'm looking forward to it. You know, I go to all of them.
Okay.
Asante Man, Kweuman, all of those events. Ghana Fest. So I have rallied even my children to be involved into the community.
That's
because
right.
we're growing up in America. Our Ghanaian community, our cultures, our traditions, the things that we hold dear, our values, our children need to learn that.
Absolutely.
You know, so my involvement in the community, in as much as it is, for example, an example for my kids to be involved, and I drag them along with me, they love it. You know, they've not kicked back, kick against that. But because of that, when something is happening to anybody in the community and I can be there, I want to be there for them.
That's
Whether
right.
it's a sorrowful event or a joyful event,
That's right.
so long as I'm invited or it's open to the public, I will show up just to be present.
And I've seen you at
You
many
know,
events
yes,
too.
I will show up.
I just wanted to hear you
Yes,
mention
yeah,
because God
yeah,
angry.
yeah.
So it's not just the
I'll,
Asantimans.
yes, exactly, yeah. So, but I think, our community, especially when you are a church leader, you have to be involved in the community.
That's right.
You know, unfortunately, I've seen a lot of our church leaders stay in their little corner. If it's their members' event, they will go. If it's not their members' event, you will not see them. But I have tried to be different.
That's
I
right.
want to be in the community as a leader in the community, and
Right.
also as a representative of God in the community, so
right.
that it is not only somebody who is my church member that I can go and visit in the hospital, or hear that they're having an outdooring and I'll go and support them, or their child is graduated college and they are doing a party and I didn't show up.
Right.
You know, so long as I know of it, I will be there to support.
Support.
You know, I have had people call on me who want their children named, and for whatever reason, maybe their own church could not do it, and they've asked me to do it, and I gladly go and do it.
Okay.
You know, people have passed away and they call me, they are not my church members, but I will go and do the funeral.
Right.
You know, so community is important because that is how we pass down our values, our culture, our traditions. You know, when I go to these events and we have cultural displays of our culture and traditions, I value that. You know, as sometimes we shy away from our culture as Christians, but we shouldn't. That's who we are.
That's right.
You know, and we need to hold dear our cultural values, traditions, our clothing, our food,
That's why I have
all
my
those things,
kente
and the
on
music.
today.
You know, so I'm very passionate about our Ghanaian community. I'm always looking for ways to educate, to empower, to encourage, to motivate. Even with the insurance, it was because of the Ghanaian community I went into. Because when I found out that I needed to protect myself, and one day I said, if something were to happen to me today, what's going to happen to Betty and the 5 kids? And that set me thinking, and that is how I found out about the Index Universal Life, which is one of the best vehicles out there, which is a life insurance, but it's also really a retirement plan where you're putting money aside that you can tap into in your future.
That's right.
These days, good health care is making us live longer.
Right.
And you want to have money when you are living in those old age. This is the time to put money aside so that when that time comes, you are able to. So when I saw that for me and for my family and got protection, that it gave me peace of mind that, hey, if I get up today and go and I don't come back, they'll be able to, take care of
They'll be okay.
themselves.
They'll be okay.
Somebody said your life insurance is your love letter to your family. And it says a lot.
Even
That,
through the tears,
yeah.
it eases the pain.
Exactly. They
They
will be
will still
crying.
cry, but yeah.
Because don't let them cry because
Yeah.
they are thinking about how to bury you. Let them cry because they miss you.
Most of the
You know.
time, and unfortunately, in a Ghanaian community, we say that when you go to a funeral and people are crying really
Yeah,
hard,
right.
it's not because they miss the person so much, but it's all the burden and the debt that is left behind.
Exactly.
And we really, I'm glad you brought this up. Kind of growing up, the mindset is, oh, what is insurance?
Yeah.
They're just taking your money and not even knowing between the term
Right.
and the, what is the other one? The index.
Life
And just people just paying into it and they don't know what the next thing is. I think this is a great opportunity also to help educate the community, like you said, as a leader or as a pastor. It is good to be part of the community because that is your way of also being able to infiltrate and also influence.
Exactly.
But if you shy off,
Yeah,
then
you
there's no influence.
yeah.
Your circle of influence is really limited.
Yeah.
But as you infiltrate the community, you are able to meet new people,
Exactly.
talk to them about God,
Yeah.
and also share, you know, the
Absolutely.
financial,
Yeah.
building strong financial foundation for them. That is not just about, oh, I'm just putting my money and
Right,
somebody is going to,
exactly.
you know,
Benefit
spend
from
it or
it,
benefit from it. But there is, like you said, of knowing, you want your family to weep because they miss you.
No, because
Not
they have to worry
because
about,
they don't know how
how,
to pay the rent
exactly.
or the mortgage or the car note.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it's very important. And maybe we'll have another section
Yeah.
where we really
Yeah.
dive deeper into
Right.
the financial aspect
Yes.
to help educate the community, especially the Ghanaian community.
Right.
That small amount that we set aside in either in the index or even it grows and it helps.
Yeah.
The mentality is build a house back home, and that is all.
Yeah, we need to just change our mindset, you know.
Right.
So those are some of the things that motivate me to be involved in the community, not just to be present, but to also be a resource for the community.
That's right.
That people can approach me. And, you know, last Saturday, well, it's Tuesday, 4th of July, I was in McKinney.
Right.
I crisscross Cedar Hill to McKinney and set up a table. And all I did was make punch and let people come drink punch.
Nice.
You know, and have some flyers there. But I got a chance to engage with people out there in the community. So being there, talking to people, getting to know what their needs are, and offering, you know, your support and your guidance, and maybe even connect somebody to a job. And I've done that a few times, you know, where somebody says, hey, I just relocated here. I'll ask them, what is your career? Oh, I know somebody who is in that same field. And then, you know, so that connections, you know, I've had people who were doing, you know, menial jobs, and then to come to find out they were teachers in Ghana. I'm like, come on, let's get you in.
Right.
So I've got quite a number of people into the school, you know, teaching profession by that kind of conversation.
This is what we're looking for in the
where
community.
They now have a career, you know,
That's right.
and making money, good income, instead of doing just
menial jobs.
Minimum wage jobs, you know. So community is important, but also the aspect of the community that I really hold very dear is our young people.
That's right.
Our youth.
The youth.
You know, things we can do to empower them, things we can do to challenge them, to motivate them, and also let them become their own group, you know. Because when we are not here, 20, 30, 40 years from now, what will the Ghanaian community look like? These are the leaders of our Ghanaian community.
That's right.
They are the ones who will step up and keep the traditions and the customs going.
That's right.
You know, and the identity of being a Ghanaian, you know, and being proud of being a Ghanaian. You know, I know when my son was in middle school, he got bullied just because of his name. And for the longest time, Emeka would not even wear African outfits.
Really?
Because he felt, you know, and it wasn't until I read his scholarship application that I knew he went through that phase in middle school. I didn't even know. He didn't talk about it. He just held it in, and, you know. But when he graduated from high school and he discovered himself, now even his tuxedo that he wore for his prom was made by his mom with African print.
Really?
Yes, you know, African print. You know, so now he takes pride in his heritage.
That's right.
He takes pride in his culture. You know, he wants to always look African.
That's right.
And we don't want our children to lose that.
No, we don't.
We want to instill that in them.
When we are no longer here,
exactly.
we build and keep that legacy.
Exactly. So our community is important. Our community leaders all need to rise up and support the community, and especially our young people, providing opportunities and forums for them, like the Ghana Professional Network is going to be doing next week, Saturday, is to open up to the community so that young people who want to maybe go into IT, they want to go into law, you know, legal fields, they want to go into different fields, engineering, they can see people who are already there.
That's right.
Doing that.
That's right.
And be able to ask the questions, you know, what did it take to get here?
Right.
What kind of courses should I be taking? You know, what kind of school did you go to become that kind of a career or field that you are in? You know, so we need to become watchmen for our community.
That's right.
In the olden days, I think they still do it in Ghana, where when you walk into a village, you will see the elders sitting under a tree. Those were the gatekeepers of the community. You can't walk into any village and go and do anything wrong, because once you come in, they know who came in, and those who come and go. We have to become watchmen, for our community.
Nice.
To allow good things to come into our community, but also to shield our community away from the negativity that can creep into it.
That's right.
So community is very important to me, and that is why I'm always out there in the community. It doesn't matter whose events, so long as I can be there, I want to be there, be a part of it.
Nice. Yeah. So for all you community leaders out there, please come out, be a part of the building, especially as Reverend Osae just mentioned, especially our youth. Most of our parents are aging.
Yes.
Because I remember when we first came to this country, we were very young. Our parents were young. Unfortunately, we lost my dad last year. But we've lost several people in the community as well, which means the generation is changing. We're going into the next phase of generation. And it will be very sad to know that when the elders are gone, we don't have replacements.
Yeah.
We don't leave replicas. We don't leave proteges, but we're gone. And then they have to struggle to figure out who they are. But as the leaders are still around to help imprint on our young ones the values, the cultural, the God-fearing characteristics that we were built into, and also to help influence and shape especially their career path, that it's not okay. I know this is a very touchy subject, but having the skin, we know the challenges that comes with it, and also having a name. Now you have the name and the skin and the culture that all plays a role in changing or maybe altering. And if we are not careful, our children are not able to own who they are. And so that's what we want to build in a community. Be a part of it. Don't be in your little corner. I know the saying is brighten the corner where you are. But as you brighten the corner, the light should shine bright enough that it infiltrates into the other side. Yeah. So it's not just the corner where you are shining. Reverend Osae, thank you so much.
Thank you.
What else do you have to say to our communities? One of the things I've also noticed, why I'm asking that the tribal divides. When we are not careful, it divides us subtly. It's the community is there, but it's a little weakened because of the tribal differences. Yes. How do we merge that to make sure we are always a community first before the tribal differences come in play?
I think appreciating each other is key. We need to appreciate the different tribal groups we have.
That's right.
But we have to also realize that when we are on this side of Ghana, in the rest of the world, we are all Ghanaians.
That's right.
And we need to have that common thread as Ghanaians to forge ahead and do the things we do. Yes, we may have our Kwewuma, we may have our Santima, we may have our Gandangbe, we may have every association, but we should all come together as Ghanaians. And hence, Ghana First, which KOGA does every year.
Right.
It is opportunity for all of us to come together as a people. So really, I think Ghana First is one of the unifying places for all of us.
Okay.
Yes, we may do our individual things in our different groups, but we should maintain a Ghanaian mindset.
That big umbrella.
Not an Ashanti or an Ebe or a Ghana mindset. When we are here, let's be Ghanaians.
That's right.
And then in as much as we value our individual tribal affinities, we should also realize that we are all Ghanaians. So when there is something for the whole community, we should come out. If there are opportunities for our children, I'm not going to say you are an Ashanti or you are an Abe or you are a Ghan. No,
so that's right.
It is an opportunity for all of our kids. So let's rally around our community, and particularly to our leaders. Let's come out and let's be a part of the building of our community. So together we can do more than we can do individually.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So to all our viewers, all that those of us that have traveled, not just the Ghanaian community, we are talking about the Ghanaian community because that's where we belong. But more importantly, even different African countries, wherever you are, gravitate towards, if it's an African community, gravitate towards it. I know sometimes the great divide is the cultural and the language barriers, but we can always cross that. Get to know somebody in your community, get to know what even we can do to help each other. One of the things I find difficult is sometimes the mindset is we all came here, we struggled. When I came, I worked at McDonald's. I didn't work at McDonald's, but I'm just using that as an example. So it's like this is where everybody should begin. So when a new person comes into the community, instead of building them up from where we are, we see an opportunity, you can do better. It's like, oh, do you know the struggles we have to go through? Did you know this? So it's, oh, go work at McDonald's or go over here. And that we lack that delayed gratification to say, hey, I see an opportunity. Plug yourself into an educational institute. Plug yourself here to where they can grow faster.
Right.
But sometimes it looks like the fear of, oh, somebody becoming better than you. But for me, I see that as if one more person becomes better than what you are, that means we are going to leave it much better than when we came in. Instead of thinking everybody has to start here and not, you know, a lot of people don't get the push to go into education, go learn something new. It's like, this is where the job is. Like you said, people come in, they already have teaching degrees. I've heard of people who were nurses already in Ghana when they came in, but they don't find themselves in the right circle, you know, to help influence and push them out. But this is where I am, so join me where I am. And I also see that sometimes it's not their fault because they have not been, I don't know if privileged is the word, to know that there are better ways out there or know the resources ahead. But when we are able to come together as a community, it is easier to share the resources. So we're encouraging everybody. Reverend Osae, this has been such a powerful time spent with you from educating. I think that's one of the key factors when we are able to educate the community. You know, we grow strong and intelligent men and women who are also able to not only participate but compete. Out there, so we don't feel like our children are handicapped because they grew up from an African, you know, background or from a parent who is an African. But also, I'll say to the parents out there who are not strong in maybe making inquiries or going onto the internet and computers and doing what they have to do, reach out to your community. That's why we have communities. We don't have to be shy about saying, I don't know this. What is the next step? And you mentioned earlier, when the ROTC came up, you asked those who have been in there. So make inquiries, ask questions, don't be shy. There are so many resources out there, and we want to make sure that our youth, our babies, they get it better than what we have. The idea is not for them to be like us, but we want them to be better than us. So thank you so much, Reverend Osae, Reverend Martin Osae, for being with us today.
It's my pleasure.
Viewers, thank you so much for your time, and we will come again to you with Count Your Blessings. Again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.